The film opens inside a bunker where the survivors are facing a desperate situation. 5 years have passed since they first took shelter, and their food supplies are finally running out. Realizing they cannot survive underground much longer, a man named John decides to venture outside. He steps out to test the air quality and observe the condition of the world above. John walks away from the bunker toward the shoreline, where he discovers several lifeboats. Nearby, he sees a massive, half-destroyed ship. Hoping to find resources to sustain his group, he climbs aboard to investigate. However, just as John removes his helmet, his teammates back in the bunker radio him with a frantic warning. A dangerous storm is heading straight for his position, and he must return immediately.
I'm staying ahead of it, but it's gaining. Open the east tunnel!
Fortunately, John manages to get back to the safety of the bunker just in time. Inside, a team of experts discusses their dwindling chances of survival. They estimate that they have only 1 year left to find a safe, uncontaminated area where they can settle and begin growing food. A scientist among them, a female doctor, shares a potential lead. She identifies a location that might be free from radiation, a vast, deep crater protected by high, circular walls. These natural barriers could theoretically block radioactive fallout. According to statistical calculations, this crater is their best hope for a new home. The problem is that the location is in France, and the group has no clear way to reach it. Amidst their confusion, they decide to buy some time while searching for better options. For 2 days, the survivors try to maintain their normal routines.
Do you know it?
Yes, of course. Impossible. Never heard this song.
Suddenly, an unpredictable earthquake strikes. The tectonic plates shift and snap, with the fracture line opening directly in the middle of the bunker. Everyone is forced to flee for their lives. They run toward the beach, remembering the military lifeboats John had seen during his scouting mission. Because there are too many people and not enough boats, a chaotic struggle breaks out. John manages to get his wife and Nathan into one of the vessels, along with a few other survivors. However, as soon as they secure themselves inside, the shifting earth triggers a massive tsunami. The people left on the shore are swept away instantly, and their fate remains unknown. The story now shifts its focus to John and the small group inside the boat. They discuss a plan to head south in search of land, knowing their food supplies are dangerously low.
Europe is probably our best bet. We can get to London, we can go to Mackenzie's.
Southeast.
But just as they try to set their course, they realize the fuel is empty. Now they are left with no choice but to drift across the ocean, following wherever the wind takes them. 2 days pass as the group drifts across the open sea. While they are sleeping, their vessel suddenly crashes into something solid. When they look outside, they are shocked to find themselves floating above the tops of skyscrapers. They have reached a city that is halfway submerged in water. With no other choice, they begin rowing toward the nearest piece of dry land. Once they reach the shore, they are surprised to find a large crowd of survivors. People are gathered around a massive evacuation building prepared by the government. However, the situation is desperate. Soldiers guard the entrance, and only those with official government badges are allowed inside. John and his group are denied entry because their badges were left behind in the bunker. When one of John's friends, who is a government official, tries to force his way in, the guards shoot him without hesitation. Realizing they cannot get inside, John takes his family and Dr. Amina to find another way.
Wait.
He spots a man getting into a car and begs for a ride. The man agrees, allowing them to escape the growing chaos. While they drive, John suggests a temporary safe haven, the home of his mother-in-law, Mackenzie. Since this part of the city is not yet fully destroyed, John is confident the house is still standing and stocked with supplies. During the journey, the group stops in a pine forest to take a break. But as they prepare to continue, a meteor shower suddenly begins. The driver, Obi, is unable to escape the falling debris and is killed instantly. When the situation settles, John and the survivors gather whatever useful items they can find from the car. They travel on foot for an entire day until they finally reach London, where Mackenzie lives. John's instincts were right. The area is still in relatively good condition. Mackenzie is overwhelmed with joy to see her son-in-law and grandchildren alive. She is not alone, as several other relatives and survivors are also staying at her home. John tells Mackenzie about the crater in France and asks her to join their journey. However, because the safety of the crater is not guaranteed, Mackenzie refuses. She chooses to spend her remaining days in London with the family she has left. John respects her decision and decides to rest for the night. Later that evening, John begins to cough violently. His wife becomes concerned and finds him in the bathroom where he is vomiting blood. Finally, John admits a dark secret. Back at the bunker, a doctor diagnosed him with terminal radiation poisoning. His wife begs him to stay and rest, but John remains firm. He refuses to let his family stay in an unsafe world. He tells her that no matter what, he will lead them to the crater tomorrow.
The next morning, the group uses Mackenzie's car to begin their journey toward the crater in southern France. They estimate the drive will take only about 2 hours. However, disaster strikes in the middle of the road. A sudden bullet shatters the window and hits Dr. Amina, killing her instantly. The attacker is likely a desperate survivor willing to kill anyone for their food supplies.
Nathan, get down! Get down! Shoot the engine! You need that car!
Fortunately, John handles the situation quickly and manages to drive away. He takes the time to give Dr. Amina a proper burial by the roadside before continuing their mission. As they travel, John encounters a strange geographical change. He reaches what should be the English Channel, but the water is completely gone. The sea that once separated England and France has turned into dry land. John feels hesitant about the path, but he decides to drive across the empty seabed anyway. Shortly after, he discovers a massive crack in the earth. This giant fissure has swallowed the entire ocean. John realizes he is not alone. Many other people are also traveling toward the crater on foot. He tells his wife and son to get out of the car and follow the crowd. The survivors have built a series of ladders to act as bridges across the deep gaps. John's son, Nathan, is terrified and refuses to cross at first. John has to push him, explaining that this is their only chance to survive. Together, they slowly cross the ladders while fighting against powerful winds. The journey is exhausting and dangerous. They successfully cross the first gap, only to find a second, even more terrifying bridge waiting for them. During this intense crossing, several other people fail to make it across and fall into the abyss.
Come on, hold on!
After finally reaching the other side, John and his family continue their journey on foot. Suddenly, a man stops them at gunpoint and demands to know where they are going. Allison, John's wife, explains that they are searching for the crater where life might still exist. Upon hearing this, the man's attitude changes. He shakes John's hand and offers them a ride the rest of the way. With the stranger's help, they finally reach southern France. The man invites them to his home, where they meet his wife, Julia, and his daughter, Camille. Sadly, Julia has suffered severe radiation exposure, leaving her completely paralyzed and unable to speak. John decides to stay at their house for one final night of rest. The next morning, the man gives John a map and points out a specific route. He warns that the path is difficult and filled with dangerous looters. However, he promises that his relatives along the way will help them. He gives John a photograph to show a commander named Genet, which will guarantee their safe passage through the looter-controlled areas. This help comes with a heavy price. The man asks John to take his daughter, Camille, with them to the crater and care for her as his own. After thinking it over, John agrees to the deal. As they prepare to leave, Camille is heartbroken. She is torn between her hope for survival and the pain of leaving her father and paralyzed mother behind forever. Shortly after they resume their journey, the group stops by the roadside to rest. Their break is cut short when an armed squad approaches them. The soldiers warn them that civilians are prohibited from heading toward the crater because of the violent rebels blocking the path. Camille immediately speaks up and explains that they are there to meet Commander Genet. Upon hearing the name, the squad agrees to escort John and his family to their camp.
Let's go, let's go, let's go!
Go to the forest, in that direction, all right?
When they arrive at the military outpost, John tries to find the commander to show him the photograph. However, he receives devastating news. Commander Genet has already been killed in a brutal battle with the rebels. Despite this setback, John refuses to give up. He manages to convince one of the high-ranking officers to help them. Finally, the officer grants them passage and allows John's family and Camille to join a bus convoy heading for the crater. The final leg of the journey begins. For a moment, the path seems peaceful, but danger strikes once again. A group of rebels ambushes the convoy with heavy gunfire, intending to seize the vehicles. The rebels kill the armed guards and force the passengers to get off the bus. John realizes that if he surrenders, his family will never reach safety. In a desperate act of bravery, he fights back against the rebels. Although he is shot during the struggle, he manages to take down the attackers and secure the vehicle. Ignoring his own pain, he gets behind the wheel and drives the bus toward their final destination. When they finally arrive at the crater, they see that several other vehicles have already made it there. John and his family step out of the bus and walk toward the edge of the site. After all the tragedy they have endured, they finally smile. The crater is lush and green, filled with natural resources they need to rebuild civilization. However, their happiness is short-lived. The camera focuses on John, who has finally reached his limit. Unable to survive his gunshot wound and the effects of the radiation, he collapses on the green grass in front of his family. He dies knowing he successfully brought them to safety. The film ends as the family look out over their new home.